If you're someone who has always wanted to get consistent clients in their online service-based business without the pressure to post on social media, I made this podcast specifically for you. I'm Leslie Stevens, and I am so excited to welcome you to the Not an Influencer show, where we chat about other organic marketing strategies that you can use to bring clients into your business quickly and easily, and the tangible tips for you to move forward faster in your business, and the stories of the entrepreneurs who are doing the same every single day. You do not have to be an influencer to be an impact maker and a successful online business owner. If you have ever spent way too much time and energy pumping out endless content for social media with little to no clients in return, let's stop doing it the hard way and let's do it the easy way with the client connection method. I teach this method in depth in my free training, How to Book Consistent Clients Without Having to Post on Social Media. The link is in the description. Go ahead, click it to grab your spot. Hello, I am so excited today. We have Rachael with us, and she is going to share all of her amazing knowledge with how to attract clients into your business without having to depend on social media. So, Rachael, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you help?
Oh, for sure. So this is such a hard answer. Or a hard thing to answer, I feel is, tell us about yourself. And I can give you, my canned bio, which is that I help people discover their value, bloom into their radiance, and then express themselves in their unique way. Or I can tell you, a little bit more about my journey, which is why I am doing what I'm doing. I believe that we are all here and we have these certain things that come up in our lives, these challenges that we are here to grow through. And then it's not just to bury it and say, yeah, that's my past, but it's so much more to say, this is who I can help. Like, even if all you do is help one other person, then all of a sudden what you've been through doesn't seem so devastational or so useless or has no purpose. All of a sudden you start to realize that everything has a purpose, and specifically you have a purpose. So that's a little bit more about who I am. I came from a world of thinking that I needed to validate externally. I was raised primarily by a single dad who was a farmer, so I lived with him and my brother, and I was raised mostly like a boy. I knew how to, change all kinds of pieces of machinery and drive stuff, but at the same time, my job, because I was the only female, was still to look after the house on top of that. So I became really good at juggling both worlds. But I noticed as I was going through my life that I kept choosing these male dominated industries, which when I was finally able to step back after I had done a few of them, financial services, and then started a roofing company and all these different worlds, when I was able to step back, I was like, okay, I'm noticing a trend here. And that trend is that I'm trying to fit myself into a world where I don't belong, that isn't my highest calling, where I don't feel like it's lighting me up. I mean, I'm good at it, but it's not exciting me. I'm not excited to keep on doing it for the next 10 years. And so I think that's the first clue for us, is that if you're in a industry or a job or doing something or even a relationship where it's just you can't see yourself there for the next 10 years, you probably don't belong there. And most of the time we're doing it because as children, we were shown somebody else's map. And then we think that we need to live our lives according to that map. But what I encourage people to do, and what the key of my whole course is that I help people discover your purpose. And it's not just a simple purpose. We actually create a visual vision board. So then you figure out 7 different elements of you that make you tick, that make you excited to wake up in the morning. And then from there, you create the map instead of living according to anybody else's map, because there's so much information out there right now, whether it's talking about manifesting, or this is how you get clients, or this is how you become a coach, or this is how you go into business. It doesn't matter. It just always seems like somebody has a very strong opinion about how you need to do it. But if it isn't going to fit for you, it's never going to work for you. So I encourage people to make your own map, because that's the only map that's actually going to be fun for, to be the adventure that you actually want to spend your life living out.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that so, so much, especially coming from your story. And so many of us kind of fall into jobs where we feel like we're expected to do these things. We're expected to go to college and then follow through with that profession, or we've done something for such a long time. We think, oh, this is where I'm going to be forever. And I love what you said about creating your own map and finding the things that really, really light you up. Because as a female entrepreneur, I've watched so many people just hold themselves back because they feel like they're expected to follow what this one coach said, or they see something online so many times they're like, okay, well, this is the way to
Mhm.
do it. I have to do it this way. If this doesn't work, then I'm a failure. And that's not it at all. There are a million different paths to your success, and finding your own path and creating your own path, that's everything. So that what you're doing is incredible. So when you first started this course, right, did you have any struggles to attract clients?
Um, yes and no. My struggle was with becoming visible. It was all an internal battle. And I really believe, and this is one thing that we work through with, your limiting beliefs, right? They are there and they are conditioned into you. You do have these fears, and anytime that we run into resistance or we feel like we've plateaued and we can't move beyond where we're at, it's always because we have this little shadow that's like, we're trying to avoid being that, right? So we're trying to avoid the imposter syndrome. We're trying to avoid, one thing for me was that I was trying to avoid being too focused, too motivated, too determined. I'm a very A-type personality. And so I'm very get in, get it done, go to the max kind of personality. And sometimes I get flack from my family and they're just like, you've been really involved in this lately. At least, right now, they're at the point where they understand that's who I am. But for anybody looking on the outside, I was always afraid that I was going to be judged that way. And so, what we need to do is look at those things where we're afraid to be judged about them. Are you afraid to be judged about feeling, being a little bit selfish with your time? Are you afraid about being, too motivated, too focused, too driven, too whatever it is? Like, however it is that you would answer that, I'm too blah, blah, blah. That is going to be a huge resistance piece to allowing you to move forward into the next stage, allowing you to become visible, allowing you to find your message. Because I do believe we have everything that we need. It's just taking down the barriers so that we can see it. Because if you look at the sun's always shining, it's there every day, but it's just removing the clouds that are in the way so that our brilliance can shine through. And so that's a key piece of, the course that I've offered to people, because I really do believe that it's important to not dwell in your past, but just go, okay, yes, as a child, I was told that I was too loud. And so I learned to sit still, to be quiet, to be the people pleaser. Whatever it is that you've learned, understand that's still controlling your actions, your thoughts, and you being able to be visible in the world. So that's the first piece that I think is really important, is for people to understand that this resistance is going to come up and it's going to keep coming up, but it's not something that's happening to you. It's happening for you, because the universe always says yes. So if you want to get to that next level, it's like, yeah, let's do it. But first, let's get through this. Let's sort this out so that once you get there, you don't self sabotage, right? Once we get to that next level, we don't want to go backwards. We want to keep being able to go forwards. And so one thing I explain to people, when you set goals and you're trying to evolve and you're trying to get that next level in your business, there's three stages, right? The first stage is that you become so excited. I mean, you can see the vision, you can feel what it's going to feel like to get there. That's phase one, where we're just lit up about it. Then we hit phase two, which is that's the challenge zone, where all this stuff seems to come up and you really get challenged on, are you sure you're going to actually dedicate your time to this? Are you sure you're actually committed? Are you willing to process this old belief? All this stuff is being uncovered, like I said, for you, so that when you get to stage 3, you're not backtracking and having to go back and fix it. And then stage 3 is once you finally have moved through that, you've seen what you need to see, you've integrated it, you've allowed it to be there, you've found the purpose in it, and then stage 3, you move on and you finally get to realize all those things that you've been trying to create, or the person who you've been trying to evolve as. And so we have to understand there's always, doesn't matter what you do, there's always 3 stages. Another big reason why, resolutions fail, right? Because people just think, oh, I'm going to do it. And then they try and pick it, 5 different areas of their life. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, start eating healthier. I'm going to start making more money. I'm going to have a better relationship. And it's just like what you did was you just activated like 5 different fires in your life. So work with one little thing. I mean, I use moon cycles also when I'm teaching. So we have 12, sometimes 13, depending on the year, different cycles. So just take one piece of you that you want to evolve during each moon cycle and work with that, right? Set your new moon intentions. Know that everything that needs to come up is going to come up right around the full moon. And it's amazing. That's what the moon's about. It's illuminating what needs to be seen. And then you work with that, release it, and then you're into the harvest zone. So we just have to be aware these natural rhythms of life are there to support us through our evolution, but we just need to be getting into harmony and into rhythm with what's already there.
Yes, I agree with absolutely everything that you just said. I always talk about like you're always going to face some sort of resistance, especially when you're trying something new or you're starting to put yourself out there because
Yeah.
it is scary. We all have our own prejudgments of ourselves from growing up and then the new things that we're facing. And what I always say is lean into that resistance and get curious about it. Be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what is this thing that's holding me back from maybe talking to somebody who would be a great client? What's holding me back from working with this person who's already reached out to me? Why am I holding myself back? And asking yourself those questions, leaning in, getting curious, and like you said, doing one thing at a time. Because sometimes we don't even recognize that we're doing it until we take a step back and we're like, oh, okay, I can totally change the results of my business if I'm willing to look at myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing I think is so scary is we have to look at ourselves when we're running our business and go internal and figure out okay, not only what's going to work best for me and my path and trusting your intuition, but questioning your beliefs and
Yes.
questioning those things that start to come up for you. So when you did start to kind of break through and get more visible, what is the way you've been able to most easily attract clients to you?
Just by being me, honestly. I just had to figure out a way that worked for me to be visible because I like it's crazy. I look back at my childhood, my report card said, Rachel's a social butterfly. And if she would just sit down and pay attention, then she would do great, even though I had good grades. And then all of a sudden I must have got that pumped to my head enough that that was it. Like I just shut off completely and just became, a super workaholic, super achiever, and then, graduate with high honors because that's all I was worried about was just people pleasing. And so somebody must have said something to me at some point that's like, if you don't do this, then people are going to think this, right? And so then I carried that into my work experience and all these different other experiences where I just didn't feel like I fit in. And so I think that's the key is just figuring out what is your rhythm, what is your way. And so for me, I tried. I mean, I'm so over certified in in all the different areas, right? Where I've got all these different healing modalities and energy movements and triple certified as a life coach and like all these kinds of things. But it didn't matter what everybody else was saying because again they're trying to say do it my way, um, and I had to find my own way. So I would try what they were doing, and again that imposter syndrome feeling would come up where this doesn't feel me, it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel like my message. And so I tried doing the just doing regular Facebook ads, and kind of works, kind of doesn't work. I mean, you got to be real clear on it. And then, As long as you're relying on social media, who is able to change their algorithms constantly, then unless you're going to become a social media expert, it's never going to be the key way. I honestly believe that the universe will bring to you, first of all, whoever needs to hear your message through you just being visible. So consistency is huge by showing up and, setting a schedule for yourself, treating it like it's a business, not like it's a hobby. That's a big thing for people who are just like, oh, I just want to work from home because they think that they can have a hobby and make money from it, which you might from a small standpoint, like a little bit of extra cash. But if you really genuinely are in it to have impact, it's a commitment, and it's not something that you so much have to, like, I love how you say lean in. It's not something to overcome. There's so much self-help rhetoric out there that says overcome this and push through this and feel the fear and do it anyways, and like just keep pushing. I believe that when there's a message inside you that you want to share, you're going to find the ways that line up with who you are authentically. So that could be doing things like small groups in your local community. That could just be like a weekend course, right? It could be through an email course, something that you're just going to email out once a week or something like that to encourage people. And I find, honestly, what the world needs more than anything else, it's not that you need more. We don't need more ads. We don't need more, stuff to scroll through to finally get to the people who actually want to see on our feeds. What the world really needs is right now, especially coming out of the pandemic that we did, where people during the pandemic, they had an opportunity to look at themselves and to see aspects of themselves that they really weren't happy with. For the first time, life slowed down enough that they could realize they were in relationships they weren't happy with. They were treating people in ways that they weren't proud of. They were doing things that didn't light them up. Like all of a sudden, they were able to start doing a little bit more of the things that actually excite them. And then now it's like the scab has been picked off and everybody's been sent back to work, and they've got this raw wound that's wide open, and they're going, now how do I function? I can feel this every day that I'm here. So I feel that the market is even more open than it was even during COVID when people were at home, because at least at home they could satiate it a little bit with doing the things that made them happy. Now they're forced back to work. They're forced back into the circles and the busyness, and they're like, this isn't for me. So I think that more than anything is to find your message of inspiration, your message of hope, not to do it the way that somebody else is doing it. Like there is, like I said before, there's so much regurgitated information out there, but it's so important that the only way that your voice is going to stand out from the crowd is if it's different. And if I look at, as far as from the marketing world, what stops the scroll, whether it's on social media or even in your emails, whatever, it's the unexpected, right? And the more individualized we can be, the more unexpected we can be, the more ourselves we can be, the more we're going to attract exactly those clients. It's not so much about, figuring out exactly who your client is as much as it's figuring out exactly who you are and then expressing yourself in that way. They'll be magnetized to you. Don't try and figure out who your client is and then convert your message. I know this totally goes against what all marketing says, and then convert your
Oh, I
message to
agree with
that.
you.
What I teach is just figure out who you are, express it in a scroll stopping way. So you might have to get a little bit more crazy, a little bit more creative, whatever. But that's what's going to attract people to you, because they're going to be like, she's hilarious, which I'm not. So that's not what they say about me. She really speaks my language. And I really encourage people to figure out who you are first and then express yourself from that place.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're so clear on what you do
Mhm.
and your magic, the way that you do it uniquely, people want what you have to provide. And I think so many people are distracted by social media because they feel like they need to show up every single day and produce a bunch of content, and it's not that we need more stuff out there. It's a full-time job figuring out social media, like you said.
It is.
Unless you want to keep up with it every single day and that be your business, it's really hard to do both. And there are people who try to do both because we see it every day. We're like, okay, we have to be on social media. But when you get into the depth of it, like you could post something once a month. And if it had a clear message, if people connected with it, if you spoke directly from your heart, that's going
Yes.
to get you more clients than just putting out a mass of reproduced content. And like you said, make it unique, make it unexpected. When I was first doing the market research for my course, which is helping people sell without social media, I had people asking me questions about how to sell on social media. So I was like, well, if I was here to answer all of these questions, because people weren't thinking, oh, there are other ways to sell,
Mm-hmm.
they were thinking, okay, there has to be a better way to sell on social media. And if I was just listening to that, I would have had to become a social media manager, or
Yeah.
I would have to become a professional in that. But I had to step back and be like, okay, this is not what I'm trying to teach. I can show them a different perspective, but I also need to be bold enough to say it. I need to be the one to say, okay, let's take social media out of the equation. How does that make you feel? And can you see it from these other ways? And we can try to find different ways that will fit you a little bit better. And people were astounded, like when
Mm-hmm.
I said that, because social media managers are on social media every day posting about how great social media is. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. It's a great tool. But if you're not comfortable with it, it's not going to be your greatest asset.
Yes.
Your message, focusing on how you can help and listening to your own intuition before you even go to the client, that is everything. So are there three tangible tips that you could give to a new entrepreneur to move forward faster in their business?
I think you nailed one that I would definitely, it's part of the course that I teach. I think it's so important and so overlooked is the intuition. Like you brought that piece up. And when you're able to connect intuitively, you're able to touch into everything else that exists instead of just the way that everybody else is doing it, right? You're able to go into that quiet place and get the exact answer that you need without doing 2 days of research and hiring somebody else and all these things. We have all of this information available to us. Everything that's past, present, and future is available to us at all times, right? This is one of the most amazing things. That's what space is. If you look at it, and our whole universe is made up of 99.9% space, which in each element of space also includes coded potential. And one example of this is there's a place not very far, about an hour and a half away, which is on my bucket list this year. And it's actually a cave that you rappel down inside this cave. So you have to climb up to the top of the mountain and then you rappel down. And inside there, like I'm in Alberta, so we have a lot of snow and that kind of stuff. And this is actually in a really snowy region. But when you get inside, it's like a tropical land, which how would that ever have happened unless this is how we would logically think, unless someone planted those seeds, right? So we think so logically, but when you become aware that those plants exist in the ground at all times, like there's certain times of a year where a certain flower will pop up, or there's a certain time of year that certain animal activities happen. That's because they're listening to their inner coding. And they're able to access that space that has all the potential and all the possibilities within it. So I think that's a huge key. And that's something that I take people through really baby steps, not into the, hey, let's be a psychic intuition thing, but let's access that intuitive point in your world and how it can help you as far as making decisions, because that's a big thing as people are so unsure and I just need someone to tell me. So Tip number 1 is access that, get in touch with that. Tip number 2 is accessing your emotional guidance system. And that is been so conditioned out of us right from childhood, when you were a child and you were said, I'm not hungry anymore. And your parents were like, well, you need to finish what's on your plate. And so then we became deconditioned to our hunger. We got desensitized to what our actual hunger. And then you're in school and you're like, put your hand up. Can I go to the washroom, please? And they're like, no, you can wait. And you're just like, actually, I can't wait right now, right? So then we become desensitized to our bladder, to our sleep, to every aspect of us. We need more physical activity. We need less physical activity. We need more time to rest. And so we just become so desensitized to us. And so one thing I encourage people to do, so this would be my second tip, is start touching in with that, noticing. If you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. I know it sounds so simple, but you can't hear other signals or intuitive symbols or impressions if you're not even listening to the information that's been given. And that's one of my key quotes, is that we ask for information, but we haven't learned to listen. So learn first to listen even to your body signals. And then tip number 3 is to give yourself 15 minutes a day doing what lights you up, what excites you. And there's 2 reasons for this. One is that it's going to activate within you. I believe we all have a seed of genius that's within us. And what that does is it activates that seed in you, because you're now discovering what it feels like to be excited, to be lit up again about something that you're excited about, not about what somebody else is telling you that you should do or achieve. So you start, whether it's 15 minutes a day of painting or singing or, whatever it is that excites you, do that until you can get to that place where you're actually feeling the difference between what excites somebody else and what excites me. And the second reason that I tell people to do that is because as you show up for yourself, then it sends a message. You're on that vibration where it's sending it out to the world and it's saying, hey, I'm showing up for me. And the world goes, okay, well, now we can show up for you, right? We are the conductors of the symphony. So whatever it is you want to experience in your outer world, we have to do that for ourselves first.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you gave me goosebumps. I love everything that you said. All of those recommendations are absolutely fantastic. And I think that so often we think it's going to be so much easier if someone would just tell us what to do, because that's the way we were trained. But especially when you get into business and running your business, like, it actually becomes far easier when you trust yourself and you do what feels good. And then people come to you because they can feel that you are excited about it. You are working in a way that lights you up and that lights other people up, and it gets everybody excited. So the energy that you're producing inside, you're creating that environment around you to hold those other people and support the other people in your community. And that's what brings them in. So that's so, so powerful. Can you tell us where we can find you and how we can connect with you to work with you?
Yeah, for sure. So it just depends what people's flavor is. If you want to binge watch a whole bunch of videos, I have a YouTube channel. And so it's just YouTube, Rachael Poffenroth. I'm pretty easy to find on all social media. And that's, if people just want to watch 10 to 15-minute videos of how to let go of the past, get through limiting beliefs, stop judging yourself, those kinds of subjects. And then the other place where there's a lot of free information is my Instagram channel, where I post 2 or 3 times a week high vibe reminders, just as real. So they're just 1 minute. And it's amazing how much feedback I get from people that say, when I'm having a low day, or I'm having a day where I just don't feel like I can, make that next phone call or whatever, I just pull up your channel and it reminds me of who I am, and it reminds me of my value and my how important my uniqueness or my individuality is. And then I feel like, yeah, I matter, because that person probably needs what I want. And then they seem to have no problem picking up the phone. So it's really neat that I didn't intend it for that to be what that is. I just wanted to inspire people. But now I'm getting this feedback from people that are just saying, yeah, when I'm having a low day, when I'm feeling resistance, I just look on your channel and you've got those reels, and I listen to a couple and I feel like I'm, ready to go on my day. So those are on there as well. I do every Tuesday, I do lives about whatever it is that I'm noticing is a trend with my clients or with a lot of conversations that I'm having. For me, the universe, whenever I see a trend of 3, then I know, okay, this is something I need to speak about, or this is really up in the collective right now. And so then I call them energy updates, but I'm just picking up on the global energy of what people are feeling. And it's just different subjects all the time. So that's on Tuesdays. And then again, like on YouTube, that's where the replays are saved, because Instagram feeds, it just disappears so fast when you're posting, right? So those would be the 2 things. And then third would be my website, which is just rachelpoffenroth.com. And on there right now is a 5-day self-love challenge. And you can just download it and use it anytime. I like to teach in metaphors and stories because they're more experiential and they seem to stick better for me. So that's the same way I talk. So it's actually just 5 videos, 5 stories that will just plant seeds in you of what it would feel like to take yourself to the next level, to trust yourself, those kinds of things. And then also includes a guided meditation about self-love. And I know so many people are like, oh, I don't need self-care. And that's not what self-love is about. Self-love is really about, if you look in the mirror in the morning, what is the first thing that you say to yourself? And if you're cutting yourself down, if it's something that's life depleting of, look at my wrinkles, or I look so tired today, or I need to get my hair colored, or whatever it is, instead of just good morning, sunshine, like the way that we would talk to our kids, if it's not that, then it's time to up level that self-love set point to the point where we are feeling that within ourselves, because what is inside of us is always expressed to the outside. And if you got some funky stuff going on inside, people can kind of sense that. And so even those people who are attracted to you, eventually they sense that and it's not attractive, right? So we need to work on our inner ecosystem so that people can be attracted, magnetized to us in a way that they want, like you said, they want what you've got. And that really starts with that relationship with yourself. You cannot give from a depleted well.
Amazing. Well, I'll make sure to link all of that below the YouTube video that I'll post and the podcast as well, so everyone can get access to all of that amazing stuff right away. But thank you so much for everything you shared with us today. I know it is just an absolute wealth of knowledge.
Thank you, Leslie. That's awesome. I'm so happy to be here.
If you want to learn more about different marketing strategies to bring consistent clients into your business without feeling the pressure to post on social media, make sure you watch the free training on the client connection method, which is in the description below. Thanks for hanging out with us today.